you got on?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I thought I joined a cult. So how you doing? It's the KaK M Show. Nothing to do with yellow vests or lime green, I think. Okay.
Okay.
I like what it says on the front though.
Yes.
Polite.
You've nicked that off Danny Shine.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny Shine, for that. I've got a question for you. And we like questions. I'm looking at myself in there, and then I'm looking at my other selves in there. I've got a question.
Oh, go on then.
Have you heard of Michael?
Which Michael? Michael O'Deara?
No, not him.
Michael Benicia?
No, not him neither.
Michael who then?
We have Michael. The Michael material. Messages from Michael.
No, I haven't.
It's in the 1970s. It's fantastic information. It's basically a collective group of fragments, more than 1,000, that have been human on this planet before.
What's a fragment?
A fragment is, well, we're multi-dimensional, so a fragment is like a human being that's been white, a human being that's been black, a human being that's been Chinese, a human being that's been bisexual, asexual, homosexual, everything. They've gone through every style of lifestyle on this planet, and they've all formed as one collective unit, oneness.
What for?
Like an essence, in order to give information and teach others, a bit like the cess material. Many thanks to one of our subscribers for this, by the way. I think it was a woman. I can't remember her name, so please excuse us. I don't recall it. But yeah, one of our subscribers recommended this along with the cess material.
Well, get on, let's read some and see if it's of any interest.
So they explained that the last name of the fragment of this entity used was Michael, so we're an ancient entity that comes to all who ask. So we're going to go on a little bit further through the book. This is book 1. A remarkable story of a link between two worlds. And they start to ask some really interesting questions.
Like what?
One's about souls.
What,
and it's no, soul as in spiritual soul.
Ah.
As a matter of fact, I do have a couple of questions. Matt asked, growing serious. I mean, I see that Michael, we of Michael, not to be confused with any other Michaels, has said that animals have hive souls. How does he account for the difference in personalities? So we of Michael. Animals are superb mimics, and will pick up the behaviour of the conscious beings around them. If you've had cats and dogs, you know about this, don't you?
Yeah.
When they are with older souls, they will often exhibit a greater tendency to communicate and interact with their human owners, because the older cycles are inherently open to this contact. We have known of pets who understand more than 50 words and phrases and have well-established rituals with their owners.
That's like what we were talking about earlier, where you said that your dad was taking the dog out for a walk, and he never used the word. He stopped using the word walk because the dog went, no.
He knew walkies. Its ears would prick up. Yeah, so he used to say to my mum, "I'm just going to take him out for his constitutionals." So that went on for a few months, but then all of a sudden, after the dog heard constitutionals, it turned around like this and knew that it was going to get its lead. So it learned that word as well. But yeah, it's amazing. We were talking about Osiris, weren't we? And the Sphinx, it had to be a dog, not a cat, like a lion. The Romans thought it was a lion, but the Romans used lions to sink their claws into us for entertainment.
Like the Roman temple we have in Nottingham City Centre.
Well, it just happens to be two lions, a left lion and a right lion.
That's a coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, and you see where the lion's sitting, it's like this. It's not like that, like a dog. The Sphinx was a dog. It was Anubis, best friend to Osiris. It says, dogs are more apt to take on the outward characteristics of their owners than cats are. Have you noticed a lot of owners look a little bit like their owners? That is because dogs are descended from social animals who hunt in packs. Cats, on the other hand, are descended from solitary hunters, and will have more quirks and independence. Cats are likely to pick up on the non-social signals, such as dogs are likely to respond to the social ones. You need only examine the behaviour of their world counterparts to see how this evolved. Alright, I've got another question, said Matt. Are humans the only species on this planet that have the kind of souls that we do, that go through reincarnation and growth? Interesting question, huh?
Of course, some will say that there's no such thing as reincarnation, you know that.
Yes, they probably will say that, but they'll get a bit of a shock when it happens to them. I mean, I've had that many birthdays and death days that I care to remember anymore. It says there are two such species on your planet: human beings and cetaceans. Have you ever heard the word cetaceans?
No. Oh, you're looking it up, are you? Well,
there's a message from you on here and it says okay. Cetaceans, definition.
This is the definition of cetacean. A marine mammal of the order Cetacea, a whale, dolphin, or porpoise.
Whale or a dolphin, which are porpoises. Most interesting, most interesting. So there's only two species. There are two such species on your planet. Human beings are cetaceans, that is, whales and dolphins. There you go. However, we think that you should know that there are over 10 million ensouled species in your galaxy alone.
That's quite a few.
10 million ensouled species in your galaxy alone. I don't believe that, Jim burst out, and Craig Wright sat upright. We have told you often that belief is not required. There are two ensouled species on your planet. That is a fact. So he goes on to ask, do they have the same sorts of goals and all that? Kate asked. There was an eagerness in the room and the planchette moved very fast as Jessica read off the letters. With Michael. All ensouled species or conscious creatures of the physical plane have the same roles in essence. And they go on, like slave, artisan, warrior, scholar, sage, priest and king, all have the same modes. And they go into all the overleaves. I would buy the book if you want to know about all the overleaves. And he explains that there are different emphasis put on these overleaves from planet to planet, from species to species. We ask you to remember that even the vastness of intergalactic space is part of the physical plane and not of the higher planes. Okay. Back to whales and dolphins, Emily said. I can't accept that, Craig interrupted and was given a supportive nod from Jim. If they're truly ensouled, then we should be able to communicate with them. They sort of communicate with clicks and sounds, don't they? You cannot communicate with your fellow humans, said Weird Michael. Why should you extend the confusion beyond your species? However, we will say this. The cetaceans, how was it pronounced on the phone?
This is the definition of cetacean. This is the definition of cetacean.
Have evolved so that they have hearing as their dominant sense, as you have sight as your dominant sense. You relate to the world visually and they relate to it orally.
I can see that.
If you wish them to understand you, we would suggest that music, the more melodious and complex the better, would be much appreciated by these fragments.
So something like Beethoven, that type of stuff.
Beethoven's a bit deep, but probably Mozart, Eine kleine Nacht music, which is very melodious, or Haydn's Messiah. A lot of Haydn, very complicated. They'd probably love that. The next time we go to Mexico, we can take one of those speakers and we'll put it in the water and we'll see what the...
It better be an underwater speaker then.
Yeah, or waterproof.
Yeah, that too.
Or stick it in a plastic bag and see... Do you know you can go to Spain, you can see dolphins? Want to communicate with them? Use very melodious music. No, I don't think anybody's ever done that, have they? Can you believe this?
I'm sure someone's doing it now.
You cannot communicate with your fellow humans. If you wish them to understand you, I would suggest that music, the more melodious and complex, the better. Are they at the same level of development as we are? We have told you that this is a young soul planet. Most of the cetaceans are at the same level that you are, yes. If you kill one, well, why would you want to kill one? Is it murder and does it incur a karmic debt? With Michael, of course. So do any of us have dolphin souls? And that's a stupid question, isn't it?
Yeah, so... I recently remember reading that Japan is going to start whaling again.
That's a real awful shame, you know, because they're ensouled beings.
Maybe that's why
they're an ensouled
they had a couple
species.
of nukes dropped on them. Because they were whaling back then as well, weren't they?
They did, apparently during the Second World War, and I can't believe that there's been 2 world wars on this planet, that...
all caused by the Rothschilds.
I can't remember what I was going to say now. Oh, terrible. But yeah, apparently they were the worse than the Nazis, the Japanese. But that's all in the past now.
Or is it in the present?
And in the future.
Oh.
All at the same time, past, present and future. We have told you that humans invariably reincarnate in human form, and this is a fact. As long as a species is planet-bound, as you are, then their experience will be limited to the species into which all of the entity members are cast.
You see, that can't be true, because Theresa May's come back as an evil bitch.
Well, I thought she'd come back as a vampire.
Mm.
It's just a negative of the self. But
a young negative of the self, as it turns out.
It's like, you know what we were saying over lunch about other negative of the selves, like the royal family, the Queen, husband, son, and people like Theresa May and David Cameron and Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. They're very immature infant souls that have never been to this planet before, because all they think of is me and only me.
Mm. Just like a little kid.
Oh, the Cameron used to say the public are our servants.
Mm.
Oh, the public are our bosses. Well, you look at public and it says the public is an illusion. Well, really, they're serving themselves, because me, I am I, not you, basically. And that's why the Queen lives to 100 years old. The reason why Theresa May looks so horrible and bitter with his face is because she couldn't have children, but it was her choice, pre-incarnation. Oh, we've got a message for all of those so-called servants that are serving themselves, like the royal family and the government and the councils and the police. The pollution that they're making on this planet and the things that they're doing to others. Do you realise, because of the facts of reincarnation, that you've got to come back to this mess
that you've created? However, you won't be in the position that you are now. You'll be in the opposite.
To understand what it feels like. But it's always your choice, because if you don't go through those lessons, you don't know who you are in relation to all that is, all that ever was, all that ever can be.
Although Alex Collier said that when you die and you see the light, if you turn around, behind you, you will see the whole universe. And if you simply say, I want to go home, you will be transported to wherever you originally came from.
There's a really interesting note, my friend, yeah. There's a really good book called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, which is metaphysical writings as well. Very, very interesting, where this woman's brother dies, but he comes back and tells her, because he didn't believe in Jesus and the God and the Allah faith. Oh, by the way, we of Michael say that faith is silly and it's worthless to have belief and faith in religion. It's cosmically stupid. Where was I? What was I talking about? We're all over the place today, aren't we? It says, does that mean that we don't experience life as dolphins? Lucy said, a little disappointed. I think it would be kind of fun to be a dolphin or whale, don't you? You will be able to do that when humankind is not planet-bound, they say. Until that time, you will experience life in human form only. Oh, I want to come back as a dog in the next life.
What most don't get is dogs are higher spiritually than humans. A lot higher. They've learnt the lesson of unconditional love.
They have, haven't they?
That's why they only have such a short time here, because they've already learnt the lesson of love.
On one of your videos the other day, you were talking about even if you beat a dog, it still loves you. I knew somebody years ago that horribly beat his dog, and he died. And the dog stayed with him for 2 weeks and died of a broken heart. But he used to beat that dog really hard. So, just for this first part on messages from Michael, it says, next you'll be talking about UFOs, Jim Vernet said scornfully. We of Michael say, it was not our intention to do so. We are here to answer your questions. What question would you ask? All right then, are they UFOs? And if so, what are they? Matt asked.
That's probably for another one.
Let's give them a taste of it.
Oh, okay then.
And jump in at any point you want to question it. We of Michael. Most are simply what their name implies, unidentified flying objects. A few are robot monitors. A few are those making studies. A few are lost. A few are what you would probably call tourists. You remember the raw material and what Seth said about this, ultimate physical teachings? that they can come out of quarantine from other systems, but not for long. Yeah, I have to go back because they appear a lot what their stations look like, not what they look like. And it says they are from many places and many cultures. It goes on to say, this is absurd, Craig insisted. First whales and dolphins and now little green men from outer space. From outer space. We have Michael. We did not say there were little green men from outer space, though there are two species not unlike your own. Others are so vastly unlike that it is probable that you would not recognise them as living, let alone sentient. It says here, I read a book that said there were aliens on the moon. Now this is interesting, isn't it? Because we were just having a discussion about the moon. Lucy said, a wistful look in her blue eyes. No, I said that, a wistful look in my blue eyes. So, did you hear about this aircraft that's gone to the dark side of the moon?
Aircraft?
Spacecraft.
Yeah. Chinese
spacecraft.
Yeah.
Right. And did you see all the pictures of it landing like this?
Yeah.
Who put the camera crew on the dark side of the moon?
You see, I can answer that for you. What happened was, when we went to the moon in 1969, the bloke that filmed the Apollo taking off stayed on the moon with the camera equipment and then went round the dark side because he knew the Chinese were coming. And it took him this long to get round there, but time passes differently on the moon, so he's only aged a year or two, whereas everyone else is aged 40 or 50 or 60.
So when we didn't land on the moon and it was a faked, a camera crew stayed for nearly 50 years on the dark side of the moon just to wait for the Chinese aircraft to arrive. Yeah,
well, spacecraft.
That makes sense.
More sense in their story.
Yeah, do put the camera crew there to film it. This is really good. So, aliens on the moon. So, we have Michael said, there have been extraterrestrials on the moon in the past. Most of their activity was confined to what you call the dark side. Since there are a few robot machines still there, the camera crew and the robot that's filming the landing and taking off of American and Chinese space vessels. A load of rubbish. And this is brilliant, but I don't believe them, unless it was faked in a lab or a movie studio. It says most of their activity was confined to what you call the dark side. There are a few robot machines still there, more of them devoted to mining and videography than anything else, though there are 2 monitor stations recording activity in this solar system. Come off it, Jim says, and got up and began to pace. I'm a biologist and I tell you, all of this sounds so much like... Read.
Bullshit.
I hear it on your videos quite often.
Bullshit.
You mean that you are frightened and your chief feature will not allow you to admit that you might be wrong? We impart information without bias. It is yours to accept or reject as you choose.
That's a good way of actually putting things, isn't it?
Yeah. We don't believe a word we say. We've often said that, haven't we? Yeah. All these years now.
Well, these are
don't believe a word we say. We
don't believe it. Belief is not necessary.
We're not martyrs. We're not... Yeah, belief is not necessary. Take it or leave it. But we don't question more. We like to question everything, don't we? It says, however, your acceptance or rejection, however, does not in any way alter these facts. Okay, I will leave you with this for now, but yeah, very interesting material. We'll do part 2 on this in the future. There is a question asked, is the ancient astronauts theory correct? And you've seen the ancient astronauts series, you can get it online. Yeah. You've got all these people questioning all this technology.
We'll leave that for part 2.
Yeah? There's just one little bit where I'm going to cut it. So is the ancient astronauts theory correct then, David Swan asked, ignoring the argument that was getting underway? And I won't read the first bit, but I'll read the last bit. You underrate your own species if you assume that any and all advances had to be given to you by extraterrestrial visitors.
Just look at Nikola Tesla.
You got it.